Once a being's cosmic mission has become activated within its current life spirit body structure, thus deifying the spirit body, the deified spirit body will begin progressive accelerated alignment of the being's light body and mental body, physical and emotional body, and etheric body and Rasha body structures, expediting deification of the entire Rishaic identity, anatomy through the current life incarnate body. So, as we progress with our deification processes through the key activations and those kind of things, we are actually bringing not only ourselves, but we're bringing the rest of our incarnational family back through. Yeah, so none of us are going to get stuck, and that's, I guess, the advantage of taking the deity path of re-evolution back. It also carries with it responsibilities that have to do with the deity planes and assisting other systems that are needing, deity rescue. So it's kind of like, I think you probably do your stint as a deity for a while, where you're helping other systems with similar problems to help others come in. And then there'll be the ascension wave levels coming in the deity planes too. You go from the first level of the personal, then to like the solar galactic or whatever, and all the way up until you become a universal logos and then fully go home to source. So it's just a nicer way to evolve, but it implies having a deity contract, which would be like a deity contract, where you're there to also serve the evolution and assist in the evolution of other forms in the domains that may need rescues when they need them. Excuse me. When personal stage 1 Dankiti deification has been achieved in the personal level of the Cosmea mission pertaining to the current life incarnation has been fulfilled, the incarnate deity, or stage 1 Daniluma, personal logos, can then leave incarnation within its domain system re-evolutionary cycle and take up residence within the Aurora deity planes corresponding to the space-time coordinate from which the being crossed into the deity planes. Once a resident deity, once you make that crossover and you become literally, your biology is a resident now in the deity plane, which implies that change in matter, right? We become part of the SAS middle matter mixed with part of the type of matter from the outer domains. So once a resident deity within the Cosmea councils of the Aurora deity planes, like once you are one of those, the stage 1 deified being can then continue its progress in GT awakening stages 2 through 5 while enjoying the manifest materialized perfection of the deity planes. As resident of the deity planes, the being will have continued open access to the Mashahanic record and the halls of Dasha for continued learning, growing, and expedited Christ-star ascension. I think we'll look at the series of these that correspond to the key deactivations, which are how the deification process occurs. As just like a little series at the end of the section 5 and 6 readings. So I'm going to go into 6 right now. Alright. Apologize. Number 6. Incarnational purposes and contracts. The cosmic mission and the first existence contract and deification. Once the cosmic mission and the Dankiti deification process has begun for a domain incarnate, right now we're domain incarnates, but we have the coding that we can do that. So once the process has begun for an incarnate, the holographic life projection, experienced material world life content of the incarnate begins to progressively align with the being's cosmic mission encryption. The encryption of the cosmic mission will rapidly clear and override any smaller missions, such as those associated with domain karma processing and repeating, or more localized personal and planetary learning and service missions. So once the big contract activates, the other ones will just, they will take second to that because of the importance of this. It's the only way if you're saying you want to be on deity plane evolution, you don't get there without fulfilling that process. And in integrating the frequencies of that larger contract. So let's see. Every being incarnates into a given space-time life circumstance for very specific purposes, with an agenda of fulfilling specific learning endeavors for personal and collective growth. Incarnation is ordered and designed, or structured and designed. They say ordered, but not like ordering your room, but like ordered or structured. Structured and designed as a free will probability field in which certain conditions are fixed or set in that lifetime as a core mission purpose, around which probable versions of that mission are selected through conscious free will choices. All beings enter incarnation by personally chosen free birthing contracts, which are made with other beings incarnating in the same reality field. All birthing contracts contain within them various smaller contracts, such as local mission contracts, which occur in both Christic and fallen agendas, contracts finishing what lessons were left unfinished in other lifetimes, healing contracts, personal and collective, and local service contracts, etc. All beings originally entered their simultaneous incarnate cycles from and through the eternal core encryption of the Christic eternal life contract. So, regardless of how lost or fallen one or numerous incarnates have become, the core eternal mission in domain incarnation is the Christ mission contract, which is an existence contract with God's source consciousness field, the unutterable one source consciousness field. That next steps down into the cosmic core cosmic domain and expands outward in re-evolutionary space-time experience into the outer domains through initial Messianic cosmic mission contracts. One of the core intentions of all beings' first Messianic cosmic mission contract is to fulfill Christic expansion from the core to the outer domains, and then to return to wholeness and unity with the Aya field through the process of organic Adashi return Christ our ascension. So everybody comes in with that contract. You don't get in here without that contract, because it's part of the literal first existence contract when you individuated from source to get into the matrix at all. So everybody starts out Christic, and we all do come from the same place, but it gets more interesting. So we all have the original intention and original encryption of returning through Adashi Christ our ascension that is implied in the fact that we exist. Whatever free will choices beings simultaneously incarnate domain selves may make, the first Messianic cosmic Christ mission contract carries the eternal contract override implied by the existence contract, a conscious contract made with God's source in order to individuate and experience manifest reality. This first existence contract also implies by indelible encryption that free will choice will always be balanced by the dynamic of action and consequence to action, and through this dynamic the Christ shall always prevail. Which is nice to know in times like these. A being can return to God's source through organic Christ or ascension, or it can choose a path of fall by a misuse of free will and return as unconscious space dust fragments. But the fact of return to source is not negotiable. It is implied within the first existence contract. When an incarnate being of any path chooses to enter the Christ-our path of deification, their original first Messianic cosmic Christ mission and existence contract begins to come online with the incarnate's life and consciousness, body, and external hologram, realigning and accelerating all smaller local contracts with the being's first existence contract. Number 7. 5 and 6. I think I'm saying. Let me just go through those. Remember, this is what the pieces of the key deactivations and things were out of themselves. This kind of gets interesting. Maybe I'll do that now because it gets even more interesting after that. I'll get into 7. Alright, I'll do this quickly. This is just to remind us of the things we've already learned about the Kiti awakening cycles and what that word refers to. Let's go to the next one, please. 5 stages of Kiti awakening and Kiti membrane activations. And this is where you have the 5 stages, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that 5th one is the Adasha Kiti. And this is the awakening. And the fulfillment of this one is what they talked about as the final 5th stage. It was contained all of those records, all of the records, and which means in frequencies, of all of these activation levels, right up to your own universal logos level, to your Dani Kalea level, is contained within those the Adashic records and the Mashayahanic record that is held within the core of the activated deity planes. So all of that information is stored as part of your record, and it would become available once those planes are open and you can access them. So you can expedite very quickly because it's available. Because you're out here and you can't find hardly anything. I have no idea where they come from. I don't know. It just takes you years just to figure out a little bit. So this is just to say these are the stages of them and to show the different names. The Dan Kiti is what we are still working on, but we are also assisting the planet with working with the Terra Kiti, and that is making our Dan Kiti activations move along more quickly. And the next thing we would do is once we finish those, we would be able to go into to resonance in the deity planes. So we would enter as an Kiti and take the rest of this evolutionary journey in those planes, in the deity planes, instead of in the outer domain planes, which are usually much more unstable and take a lot longer to achieve the same thing. So next one, please. Now each of those 5 stages has its 6 phases of density fulfillment. This is just to remind us of what we've been taught already about this. So just in the Dan Kiti stage alone, which is stage 1, you have the 6 stages that involve bringing progressively online and opening the timelines between and the flow of consciousness between this many different selves. So the level 1, the density 1, is just bringing on a whole self incarnate, which is 12 probable selves come online with you. And as we work up through the 6 layers, we go through until we integrate we integrate 1 soul's worth, which is 12 incarnates, then we do 12 souls, and we do 12 oversouls, and then we do 12 avatars, until as we go through, and we're first of all, we do it on the Dan Kiti level, that's the personal level, right? Then there's those other 6 stages. That's just stage 1. We're bringing online literally all of the living time matrix, and by the time you get up to being phase 6, stage 5, your universal logos, or just about a cosmic logos, because you brought everything online with your consciousness, and that's what it's about. And your body form at that point would no longer, you'd be a sphere, literally, like a sun, star. So this is how consciousness evolves. When you look up and see the stars, they're not just rocks that glow up in the sky, up in space. They are consciousness. And this is the process by which beings that are in our smaller evolutionary cycles here progressively grow until they accrete and their form changes along with them, until they can become spherical, until their fire comes back on and they become suns. And that's what it means to be a son of God's source. They kind of got twisted in the old Christian teachings. No, it didn't mean son S-O-N, it means son S-U-N. So anyway, this is just to remind us of these things. And we are still working on these phases of the stage 1 of the Dan Kiti. And at the end of that, when we finish Dan Kiti, even if we don't finish it fully enough, where we can physically walk through into those domains of the deity planes, we can, like if our body is going to give out, if it for some reason is giving out before we can get there, we can directly bardo into them. And we are in those cycles, and we don't have to be afraid of where we're going to go or getting trapped anywhere anymore, because there's a lot of weird stuff that can happen when you're dying your body and you're doing your bardo out. like, where do I go, right? And how do I know it's the right place, not a place I don't want to be? And how do I know they're nice guys and not just pretending and that kind of thing? This is pure safe passage into the deity planes and into the interior path of ascension, which is the best way to go, if you ask me. Next one, please. This is just a little reminder of the Buddhist center states, the 6 bliss states of the personal Dankiti awakening. So these states would go with each of the 6 phases of one stage, right? So the Dankiti stage would have the 6 phases, and there'd be 6 bliss states of that awakening. And this just shows where some of the teachings showed up, not fully, but parts of them have showed up historically in various forms of Buddhism. And you had conventional Buddhism and its types, and then esoteric Buddhism, and then there's all these that were undisclosed doctrines that were supposed to be brought out at certain times, and they haven't been brought out at this time. So the information that we're actually being given would have been part of those releases if they had been done. But it also goes way beyond that, because there's some things that are distorted in Buddhism, just like there is in every other teaching that's been on the planet for several thousand years at this point. So that's why they're giving the new information which shows how things fit. So this is just showing you that there are Buddhist states, bliss states, that are associated with it. And as you move through bliss states, there's certain things you might feel. We've talked about those before. Sometimes it can feel like you feel the suffering of the entire world, and it can feel really, really sad. But then that will shift into this kind of like sublime knowing, and where it goes past the sorrow, we're experiencing the sorrow of others in the planet, and into knowing that it's almost like a sense that you can't put words on well. But if you could experience that, then you have enough knowledge that you're working with a program that can help you to develop the things that you know you could do to help heal that pain. So therefore, you have the connection enough to feel their pain. You also have a connection enough to help ease their pain. So, and therefore heal yourself from your feeling of pain and such. So there are states of consciousness that progressively, in spiritual enlightenment, that progressively go with each of these states of energy things that we've been talking about. So, and we've talked about these before. I just want to do a quick reminder of what the key to the awakening processes are, why they're there, and what we're doing. Because all of that has to do with deification of the body. So we can literally take up residence within the deity planes and go into the inner re-evolutionary path, as opposed to the slower and more difficult outer one. Next one, please.